This is the second part of Newtown history and ghost stories today. Everybody, hello everybody. So the first story is going to be on the outskirts and Garth Owen and Dolver Road and everything, okay? My first little bit is about Penn Stowage Church. Not many people know that Penn Stowage Church was the Victorian part, was 1864 built, but the original church, the founder was St Geraint, and he was a 5th century saint, Scottish saint, and he's buried in Penn Stowage Cemetery. His father was Gawain, and he was one of the kings of Scotland, one of the feudal kings of Scotland, and he came down from Scotland to fight King Arthur, so legend goes. And St Geraint is buried in Penn Stowage churchyard. And also, not many people know, there's more ministers buried in Penn Stowage Church than anywhere else in Wales, because they used to send them there to retire, so that's where they all ended up. Nice little place to visit if you ever want to go when it's open. The ghost story there is that St Geraint has been seen walking across the lane just by the main road, and the main road used to be that side by the cemetery, so that's what they see along there. Also, we have Penn Stowage Hall, and Penn Stowage Hall is a 16th century prefab, and they built it in wood and then put the stones and everything else around it. But Penn Stowage Hall, the old boy who used to live there years ago, he's passed away now, a friend of mine, he told me on Halloween night over the centuries his family used to take the children to the barn on Halloween night, and when the clock struck 12 o'clock, all the animals in the barn, the sheep and the cows, used to lie down completely silent, and after it struck 12 o'clock they all got back up and started, doing their thing again. And the people who live there at the moment, the two men who live at the moment, they came to see me, and they found a pair of shoes they knocked down an old fireplace and found an original ingle nook going back 6 foot in the fireplace. And when they pulled it down, they found a pair of shoes in the fireplace. So they came to see me, and I said, I bet you found more than one pair. And they said, we did. We found about a dozen going back to 1600s, right up into the Victorian days. And what it is, it's not a ghost story, but years ago, families who lost, years ago, they used to lose children, so they had big families, and they tried anything to keep them alive. So what they used to do, when the newborn baby was born, they used to get the cobbler to make a pair of shoes, put them in the fireplace, and when the devil came to take the baby's soul, he would take the shoes instead. And to this day, that's why we have on our shoes called souls on our feet. So that's where that little story comes from. And they've also, in the house, one Christmas, they were having a Christmas dinner, and the owner took a photograph of the family, and in the fire itself, they've got a head coming out of the fireplace, and they just can't explain what it is. So that's a little bit about Penn Stowage, and now we're going over to Custard Farm. And Custard Farm was original, as you can by the name, Custard. It was an old moat and bailey on there, and then they built the farm in the 1600s again, and that's where the bypass is going now, that way. The only little ghost story I got there is that in the cellar they've got a little spring in the cellar, and I was there one night with my ghost crew and everybody, with the owners, and we were coming up the stairs of the cellar. All of a sudden we all heard an almighty scream, and there was something behind us, and we thought it was the person behind us, and we had to bring them up. They were so terrified, we had to bring them up out of the cellar. But that's the only story I know about there. And on the main road we have, where they're doing the bypass now, just by the old ATS garage. It's just over this way. The old ATS garage, where they're building the bypass now. They've got the caravan site, and loads of men, builders, and over the years the lads with their lorries, I've seen something appear out of the ground by the caravan site, looking like half man, half wolf. And I thought, no, I don't believe that story. It's too far-fetched. That story's too far-fetched. Anyway, since they've been doing the bypass, by the sign of the caravan site, that's where they see the ghost. There was archaeologists. So I was going home one day and I stopped over, and I said, what are you doing? They said, oh, we've just found some ancient Roman remains. So could it be a Roman soldier? Because Romans used to have wolf skins on their heads to go into battle. So maybe something to do with that. And then as we're coming out of town, we're still out of town up Mocktree, and we have the Dollar Inn. And I know the Lewis family, good friends of mine again, and there was a Drovers Inn. And drovers used to, every winter, they used to come off the mountains, and get their pay. It was the Earl of Powys who owned it. He owned all the land around it then. And the Earl of Powys used to have his men give him the money, and the drovers used to go into the inn and drink themselves silly. And over the years, 2 drovers drank themselves to death in the barn, and they've seen one of the men in the barn, you know, one of the ghosts in the barn. Anyway, Robert Lindsay was a good friend, Citizen Smith and all that, you know, the film star. Anyway, he used to know, he knows the family, and he stayed overnight in the pig room. That's why Mocktree is called Mocktree, Pigtown. Anyway, where the old barn is, he stayed over there one night, and he'd had no sleep. He woke up in the morning, he went downstairs, and he said, "Oh no, I couldn't have no sleep last night. Who was feeding chickens out in the yard?" And they go, no one's feeding chickens in the yard. You've just heard the ghost." And that was the end of that. But in the yard, they used to have an old caravan right in the back. And one daughter, she used to go to university, and then she used to do her revising in the caravan. And one morning, her other sister got up, and she could see her sister in the caravan, and she said, "Do you want a cup of tea?" And the sister waved, "Yes, please." Her sister was upstairs. She was the one who said, "Yes, please." So who was in the bar? Who was in the caravan? Who wonders? Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, that's that bit about that. Also, a young girl has been seen in the bar area, and she was a maid, and she, "Hiya, you all right?" And she fell down the stairs, broke her neck in the cellar, and they've heard noises in the cellar, and the clocks will stop and you know, just for no reason, you know, they wound them up, but they just stopped for no reason. Maybe it's the time of her death, maybe, who knows. But that's the little bit about the Dolly Inn. Also with the Dolly Inn is that George Lewis's wife, her great-grandfather, he was the governor at Alcatraz. Now, a lot of people know that we had a famous mafia leader from Carno, and his name was Mary Humphreys, and they called him Mary the Hump. And he went to America to find his fame when he was a young man, and he witnessed the Valentine's Massacre. And Al Capone was there shooting away, and he saw this young lad, took him under his wing eventually, and he became a bookies runner for Al Capone, and then he became the money launderer for Al Capone, and they both ended up in Alcatraz. Now, did George Lewis's wife's great-granddad know Mary Humphreys, because they were from the same area? How odd is that? 2 people, famous people, and from the same area. And so that's about the Dolly. And then the last little story about Mocktree is there was 2 sisters, Cian and Bethan, and they used to live in the old church house. And Cian and Bethan, they hated each other, and they lived in different parts of the house, and they were very wealthy. And the one sister said, "Cian, what if I ever die before you, you're not having my money?" And Bethan said, "Well, same goes for you. If I die, you're not having my money." Anyway, Bethan passed away. And a few weeks later, Cian was in the kitchen doing the dishes or whatever she was doing, and next thing, Bethan was tapping at the window saying, "Cian, come with me, Cian, come with me." And Cian was in a dream state. She left the house and she went towards the cemetery, went into the cemetery grounds, and luckily a vicar was walking through, and he said, "Cian, wake up, Cian, wake up." And when Cian woke up, she was standing over an unmarked grave, an open grave, and if she would have fallen down it, she would have been killed. So Cian wouldn't have had Bethan's money either. Ooh, spooky, innit? So that's a little story about there. And then we're coming on to Garth Owen now. Messer Andy first. The only story I know about Messer Andy, on a misty dark night, you hear a whistle blowing, old policeman's whistle, and a lot of people have seen this all in the mist, has seen this old policeman in a cape, and he'll just be on his bike going past, and that's all I know about that part. That's not far from the sports centre, just on the corner by the sports centre. And then you have the sports centre. When I was a child, that was the Newtown Tip. And lots of us, whoever watches this film, you'll know about the Tip. And on a Wednesday, Price Joneses used to dump all their toys and stuff, and all his kids used to go over there, see if we can get any free toys from the Tip, and other bits and pieces. And there used to be a great big pond, like a dirty old with oil, rat infested, but we used to love it as kids, used to love it. Before we had all these European rules, you know what I mean? But it's going to be different now with Brexit in it and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, the pond, the lake, what was there, was a clay pit. and that was a clay pit for the brickworks. But we'll talk more about the brickworks when we're at this end of the town. But there was a little house, used to be a little house there as well, and barns, little barns where they used to put all the soldiers after the Second World War before they built the rest of Garth Owen, and then the families moved into Garth Owen then. But the only ghost story I got about this is the sports centre. Years and years ago when it first opened, there was a manager and the person who was looking after the money. They stayed over, locked all the doors. And as they locked the doors, the lady was down the other end and she felt a breeze going past her. When she went into the room, she heard the safe being opened, so she ran out thinking, oh, somebody's robbing the place. Went down to the manager, said, he said, don't you stay by the door, and if anybody, just ring the police and you stay by the door and I'll go and see who's in the room. So he goes down to the safe. By this time the safe is open and the money is just floating up in the air and comes down onto the floor in front. By then they're both out of the building and all the fire alarms going off. So that's the only stories I know about that. Now we come on to Garth Owen. Now, I was born on Garth Owen, by the way, everybody. 1965, I was born on Garth Owen. Anyway, Garth Owen, the one end, the newest end, one of my friends, he's a famous golfer. I'm not going to mention his name, but people on Garth Owen will know who he is. He does a lot for Sky now, Sky Telly and all that sort of stuff, Sky Sports. Anyway, his family used to live in one of the houses on the front by the sports centre. And one summer's evening, his dad was in the garden digging potatoes and all that stuff. And his two daughters were up in bed. And all of a sudden they heard an almighty scream. His father heard an almighty scream. Goes in the house thinking something's happened to the children, runs up the stairs, gets into the room, and as he gets into the room, there's this green woman floating above his daughters and just disappears. Now, that happened, they were fine about it, if you can be fine about it, but the golfer, he was sitting on the stairs one evening, with his action men, whatever you do when you're little kids, and this green lady just goes straight past him and out through the front door. Right, the next story on Garth Owen I want to tell everybody, just on the corner here there's a police house, and the old police house here, it's got a tunnel and it goes through from the one end, from the one end right over to the other side of the Trialfrin. And when I was a kid, we all used to go under there, under the tunnels when I was a child. Lots of kids in Garth Owen did. The ghost story is there. They've seen shadows going around the house, and they've heard voices, children playing, and just different noises like that. That end as well, a famous singer, Welsh singer, helped build the modern part of Garth Owen. And his name was Tom Jones. It's not unusual, Tom Jones. He was a hob carrier for his dad, and his dad was a brickie. So some of the houses on Garth Owen was helped built by Tom Jones. Not many people know that, you see. Garth Owen as well was one end of Garth Owen on the Mocktree was the Italian prisoner war camp. And this end, at the end, was a part of the German prisoner war camp, little German prisoner war camp in Newtown. Used to hire the Germans out to Maesmar Hall Farm, and they used to clear in the winters, they used to clear the main roads and all that stuff, done a few bridges and all that sort of stuff. But they helped build some of the front of these old houses here, on Garth Owen here. One of the ghost stories is that on a bad winter's night, when they have lightning and hail and thunder, when sometimes when they have a really bad lightning strike on Garth around this area, quite a few people have seen figures in the windows coming in their bedrooms. Once the lightning strikes and the flash goes, as the flash comes back, they'll see a figure standing by the window. And quite a lot of houses in Garth Owen have had this happen to them in the past. I had it in our old house, it happened to us, not this house here, but another house on Garth Owen. And then we have one of the houses along here, they've used to hear German jackboots marching. So maybe this was where they did a bit of marching and stuff, but they've heard German jackboots just marching up and down. And right at the back where they're building the bypass, on the very top there, when I was a child, and lots of children have heard it as well, we used to hear like a phantom horse coming towards you. Couldn't see nothing, but as you started running, it would get louder and louder and louder. You're right. But they do say that there was a huge battle across these fields. Archaeologists found a part of a Celtic site, and they reckon that the Saxons and the Celts had a battle up there. So maybe it was a Celtic warrior. It could have been a Celtic warrior. I wonder what the bypass is found, what we won't know about until they finished it, and then we'll have the recordings and the writing what they found. So that's a part of Garth Owen. Now we're moving down to the Green Brook at the bottom. Alright everybody? Okay, I've brought you to this little part here because we got the high school over the road, and the room on the top there, that was my form room. I was never there half the time anyway, because the teachers didn't have much to do with me because I'm dyslexic. But anyway, the top floor, that was my form tutor, and it was the art room when I was a kid. And one of my art teachers told me that one evening he was down the one end, the school was closed, and he was just cleaning all the pens and the brushes and everything, getting all nice and tidy, one end. And all of a sudden he could feel a breeze behind him, and there's a little window on the end, and the window was open. He turned around, and he saw this woman darting in through the window, and then darting out again. So he runs over to the window and he sees this woman just floating across the field to Treowen. And like I said about the tip, there was an old clay pit there, and all this area was Mid Wales brickworks, and they had all the brickworks here for all over Mid Wales, and they used to use the railway line then to take the bricks off to Birmingham and Crewe and everywhere like that. So a lot of the old houses in Newtown, the bricks are all from this field here. And they also say, I'm not sure what happened, if it's true or not, but one end of the high school, they reckon that's where the medieval cemetery is, and that's where a lot of children have heard down the corridors, footsteps and stuff, behind them. So that's all I know about there. Okay, and now we're moving on again. Okay, I brought you to this little area now. This is the bottom of Garth Owen to the Dolver Road and all that area, and the brook down here is called the Green Brook. Like you say, the Green Lady, maybe it's named after her, the Green Lady. But my first story is Black Hole Farm. Black Hole Farm is just about quarter mile up the road. The old farm there, I used to go there when I was a little boy, when I was a bit naughty. My dad used to say to me, go and get the wood out to the fields. And I used to have this big old wheelbarrow, a real heavy wheelbarrow. I used to go across the field, cut a bit of wood for our fire. But the old sheriff of Montgomeryshire lived there, and he used to confiscate my wheelbarrow, take it back home, use all my wood when I cut, Anyway, and I used to have to go and get the wheelbarrow to apologise. But in the end, I did it so often, he got to know me and I got to know him, and I used to go for a cup of tea and sit by. I have to tell you this little story because when I first went into the house, these old black and white Welsh houses, a lot of them have gone now and all the floors are gone, but this one still had the original black cobbles on the floor. You could just imagine going to the house with black cobbles, shiny black cobbles, with all the people over the years have gone past, and a big Inglenook fireplace. And he used to tell me ghost stories by the fireplace. And he told me when I was a young boy that Black Hole Farm was haunted by a lady tapping the windows outside, beckoning people to come outside. So they cut all the rose bushes away from the windows, but the tapping still carried on, like Wuthering Heights with Heathcliff in it, you know. Come outside, Heathcliff, to the moors. Anyway, that's what happened there. And they also hear, like, I don't know what boreholes sound like, maybe like winds going around the house, and you can hear this like whooshing winds going around the house and then just fade away. That's all I know about there. And then we have Dingle Hall, great big grey old Dingle Hall, beautiful old building, really historical, looks like something off Wuthering Heights. Anyway, the ghost story is there. They were playing cards in the 1700s, playing cards, and this one man goes, there's somebody watching me, it feels like the devil's behind me. And they said, carry on playing cards. He goes, no, I'm not carrying on playing cards, there's something behind me. So he gets up, starts coming back down the Dolver Road, and he hears somebody behind him, turns around, nothing there, carries on going, hears somebody behind him again, looks around, nothing, turns around, and there's a 6'4" figure standing in front of him with a shawl over, a cloak and shawl, and just goes straight through him and goes across the fields up that way. And he comes back, runs back into town, tells everybody, and he swore he saw the devil that night. But that's what happened there. The White House Lane is called after the White House. That's gone now. It's a beautiful little farmhouse when I was a child. So I don't know why it's called the White House Lane anymore, because the White House is gone. Anyway, and then we have the Green Brook. This area here used to be the candlestick works in Newtown, and there was a big pond and 2 people fell in the pond and drowned. Anyway, a friend of mine, when we were all kids, we used to play down by the brook here with our action men, and we left him one night. And we went back home, and he stayed to pick up his action men, and he went into the water. It was very shallow water, and all of a sudden the water started rising and he couldn't get out of the water. So as he tried to get out, these 2 figures started appearing out of the water and tried to grab him. He gets out of the water, runs home, and to this day he still has to have psychiatric help sometimes, and that's what happened to him. But we were all here one night and we were all playing around, and we saw this young lad just over the other side of the bridge, over the other side of the wall here, and we said, let's squirt him with our, watering pistols. And we only a second, when I looked up, gone. But there was something there. He couldn't have hid anywhere around here. And just over the road where you have the Landred Nodwell sign, used to be a big old oak tree there, and they had a mark in the oak tree. And a horse and carriage was coming down here one evening, and it got out of control. The horses got out of control, and the carriage hit the tree, turned over and killed everybody in it, and there was a beautiful lady in it. And they say that the beautiful lady comes down the road here and goes towards Jewin. Maybe it's the same one from the high school they've seen. So we're carrying on now on the walk, okay everybody? Thank you. Okay, I've just brought you to the bottom of Garth Owen, and this part here, the main part here was the brook. It was all open when I was a child, so 10 foot deep it was. Anyway, I was telling you the ghost story about the lady from the carriage, and an old policeman was walking up here one evening, and when they didn't have these lights, and he saw this lady coming out of the hedge just over here, and she floated across the road and went straight up to Jewin. And she must have been floating because this was 10 foot deep. So she just went straight across there and over to Jewin. But other people on late at night, they've seen cigarettes, just the embers of cigarettes, just across, going across the road. And that's what I know really about that. So I don't know how drunk they are when they're coming home and they see these lights. Maybe it's just that. But that's all I know about there. So we're moving on again now. Okay, different part of town again now. This part I want to tell you about where Lidl's is, over that way, a bit of history. Lidl's, behind this other side of this building, was the old coal yard. And they used to have all the old coal in there, and the old brook used to come through that end as well. But the story we have on the other end as well is the old pavilion. And the pavilion court, where the modern pavilion court is now, used to be an old aircraft hangar. And not many people knew this, but lots of big bands played in there, and boxing and all sorts of stuff went on there. And the Bee Gees, when they came to Newtown years ago, and they were singing Massachusetts. And after the show, they had a phone call, and the phone call was to tell them that Massachusetts has just got to #1. So when they sang in Newtown on their first night, it went to #1. Their song went to #1, Massachusetts. A lot of the older ones will know about that song. Good song. Anyway, and then we have the old pensioners' home across the road. And the ghost stories of that is that a lot of the girls, they had an old ottoman upstairs, and that night they used to hear all things coming out of it, and they thought, oh, one of the pensioners must be up, and so we'll just go up and put them back into bed. They'd go up and there'd be all things on the floor, but no one out of bed and nothing around. So one night this girl heard all the things being moved around again from the ottoman. She went upstairs, and there was a little blonde-haired boy pulling stuff out of the ottoman, throwing them around the room. He turned around, smiled, and just disappeared. And they know when somebody's ill in the building, because some of the girls, they'll have the old staircase, the original staircase of the old part of the house. They'll see a top hat at the bottom of the stairs. Not my top hat, because I've got a bird on. But they'll have a top hat at the bottom of the stairs, and this man will come through the wall, pick up his hat, put it on his head, and they know somebody's ill, so they'll go and check out who's ill on that night, and hopefully they'll be okay. And the story around here is, this used to be the old timber yard, and there used to be an big old crane here, big crane, and some nights around here, when policemen have had it happen to them, and other people had it happen to them, they'll be walking home or going to the pub, and something will tap them on their back. And they'll turn around and there'll be something like crawling on the floor, like a little slug or something, Not really, it was my finger. I lost my finger on the crane what used to stand here when I was a little boy. So I've lost half my finger. So if you ever find it, can you give it back to me, please? Thank you. We're moving on now. Right, this is another part of town. This used to be the old mill of Newtown, where a massive mill used to be here when I was a child. Gone now. Some of the brickwork up that end is still here. This used to be the old mill, and in the Second World War they used it for the Americans and the Australian soldiers and the British officers as well. And the little ghost story I know about this part is that they all went on manoeuvres, the Americans and a lot of the British and Australians went on manoeuvres one evening, and two officers were left on the middle floor with their bunk beds, and one officer was halfway down, the other officer was halfway up the other end. And the one officer, he wrote St. Trinian's, and he directed St. Trinian's as well, so a lot of you know St. Trinian's. Anyway, he was a war correspondent, did the artwork for the British Army. And one evening he said to this other gentleman, he said, could I paint you? And this gentleman goes, yes, of course you can. As he started to paint him, this officer got his revolver out, shot himself in the head, but the war correspondent had to carry on painting him because it was for the war. So they say that they see a figure around here, around these grounds of an officer. Don't know who it is, but they say they see this officer just wandering around this area. And at the end of these houses here, there used to be a big gap. And when I was a kid, there used to be old Jaguars and Rover cars in there. Loads, and we used to play in it when I was a child. But my dad used to take me into here, and a lot of the old Newtowns remember it. My dad used to take me into here, and there'd be a big hole in the floor. And my dad used to tie me on a rope and put me through the floor to get all the American cards, all the old cigarette cards, and I was the Camel cigarettes and all that with Marilyn Monroe and all the famous stars. And that's all I know about this little area here. Then we have Penn, Custard over here. When I was a child, they used to call it Count Dracula's castle when I was a child. But the story I know about this, a lady used to help there. She used to deliver letters now and again to the family, and this one day there was no one in, but she put the letters through. As she put the letters through the letterbox, this white hand came through the letterbox like a snake hand, took the letters and pulled them in. And so she ran home, told her mother, and mother goes, oh, I don't believe that. But that's what she said would happen. Anyway, the other story is, he was a mill owner of this building, and the man who owned it years and years ago, he committed suicide. And they do say that they have a poltergeist down in the cellar, and when it was to do with the college, the books used to be moved off the shelves. People used to even physically see the moves, like Ghostbusters in the library. When you see the library books going across, they used to see the library books going across. And on the staircase, people have as they're halfway up the stairs, all lights will go off, run up, turn the lights back on, halfway down, lights go back off again. But that's where they found him. So that's all I know about that little bit there. And now we're moving on now to Phoenix Furniture, everybody. Yeah, brought you here now as well. This is Phoenix Furniture, and this site we're on now used to be the old school. One end they'd have girls and one end they'd have boys. And I've been asked loads and loads of times to do investigation. I haven't been here yet because I'm so busy doing films and ghost walks. I haven't had time to go here yet. But this used to be the co-op and quick saves. And when it was quick saves, one of my mates, Simon, worked here. And they didn't have automatic doors in the back in them days, you just had to push them open. Really heavy doors. Anyway, one night he was one end of the room, and his mate was down the other end putting the tins out, and he could see his friend talking. And Simon goes, who are you talking to? He goes, oh, I thought it was you, Simon. And he goes, no, it wasn't me, but this man said he saw somebody standing next to him talking. Anyway, a few nights after, they were there again. The back doors opened, and coming through the doors, they saw this figure floating above the floor and carrying on going through this area. And to this day, they're still hearing things going on. Things get moved in there as well. But where you have St. David's, the old church, they do say a part of the cemetery is somewhere around here as well, maybe. The old cemetery with the old church. In the churchyard itself, there is some from the Battle of Trafalgar, when Newtown had if you've watched the first film, you'd know about it. That they had prisoners of war from the French War, and some of them are buried in the cemetery in the back of here with their wives who were Newtown women. And the women went to the back with their husbands to France to fight the Battle of Trafalgar. And Waterloo, sorry, and they died on the field with their husbands as well. Not many people know that. So we're going to Price Jones's now this way, okay, everybody? Right, brought you here now to Price Jones's. Price Jones's, the foundations went back to 1874, the original foundations. It was a catalogue company, first catalogue company in the world. If you don't know that, and the people over here, if you don't know that, first catalogue company in the world here. And Price Jones built St David's, built a lot of other things in Newtown. Started the catalogue company. Also, once they've just restored the building as well, and they found a little secret compartment, and inside it they found all the letters from the princesses and princesses of Persia. For their underwear, their flannel. And the reason why we got the shield on the top of there is because he gave all the flannel, Queen Victoria's flannel knickers. She had all the knickers for me and everybody, by the way, and all their underwear was from Newtown. That's why they have the royal seal on the top of the building there. Hiya! Alright, the ghost stories inside the building. My Auntie Frances died when I was born. She's been dead a long time now, and she used to work here. And one afternoon, one of the young lads, one of the bellboys who had the lift, he said to the girls, let's get on the lift, go to the 4th floor, and that's where the original dance floor is. In the Second World War, the Americans and British soldiers used to dance in Newtown. Anyway, they used to go. She went upstairs on the lift, these 4 people. When they opened the lift doors, these 2 baskets went walking towards them. They came straight back down and never went back up there again. But they do say the lift is haunted. The lift will go up and down, the modern lift will go up and down by itself sometimes, like there's somebody in the lift. On the very, very top floor, we did an investigation on the very top floor, nothing up there at all. And I've just been told the story now that they've heard baskets on the top floor moving around, and when they've gone up to investigate, there's been no baskets there at all, and that was in the afternoon. But we were up there one evening with the staff from the building, and we were asking questions. Next thing, this old Casey ball from nowhere just bounced along the floor and ended up by my feet. By that time, you could expect you know where I'd be, running down the stairs. So I was running back down the stairs to get out of the building. Anyway, we came down, and one of the lads, they said they heard the name Sarah, and they felt a breeze going past them through the front door here. And a lot of people said they've seen a lady here as well on the middle floor, going around the floor. And when it was Kay's, a lot of the girls working in Kay's catalogue, they used to hear noises, and the computers that mysteriously go off, you know, at the plug and stuff like that. I don't know if people are playing pranks or not then, who knows. But also the building as well. The back of the building, we had the first hydroelectricity building in Britain for electrics for the building as well. Not many people knew that either. So we're moving on now, down by the railway. Newtown's never been so busy. Well, I just brought you here, not a ghost story, but I thought I'd tell you about the chimney breast here, right up there. It's the tallest chimney breast in the world. It's still in the Guinness Book of Records for the size of the house. So that is the tallest chimney breast in the world for the size of that little property. So that's all I know about that, and now we're doing the last stories by the railway. Right, another little story here. The railway inn. The railway goes back to the 1800s. It's about 1830, 1840. It's always been a pub as well, a little pub. The ghost stories in here, they have a poltergeist, and the glasses on the back of the bar will fly off. And only a fortnight ago, someone was standing at the bar, and one of the glasses went straight across the room and smashed against the wall. They've also heard noises, and the other night, the telly switched off, and they thought, oh, somebody's just switched it off at the, on the remote. Went to the wall, and it was switched off, and there was nowhere there on the plug. It was switched off. Also, they've heard noises, and they've heard footsteps going across the bar area. But most of all, they always seem to have these glasses moving, throwing themselves across the room. Don't know why it happens, but that's all I know about that. And we just got one more little story now to tell everybody at the Queen's Head. Okay, come with me. Right, I just brought you here now. I'm going to shout a bit louder here because Newtown's never very busy, but it's very busy today when I'm doing a talk. Anyway, the Queen's Head. The Queen's Head is an old coaching house. Goes back to the 1600s. I know this because I've been in and I've seen the rooms upstairs with the dates on them as well. But it was twice the size it is now. This end is on the arch corner end, and the other end was a corner end. But the one end is gone because this was the coach house for the Shropshire coaches. And the coaches used to come up here to go to Aberystwyth, that way and back to Shrewsbury. Anyway, one night there was a coach of 5 men from Shrewsbury, and they pulled up, they went up into their rooms. Hiya. And the coachman had to go and get the tar to put on the horse's hooves for the following morning. So he went down into the cellar, had a few to drink, went down to the cellar, got the tar, but a spark from the fire went into the tar and set him alight. So he went to tell everybody, but started going up like a candle, so he went through the whole pub. Unfortunately, the one end of the pub the inn was burnt down. 5 men lost their lives in that part of the building, but all the women survived. And one of the women, for years later, owned the pub for years later. But that's smart. They say that they see her haunting the building, and they've heard a man around on the top floor as well. He locks the doors from the inside as well when you're in the room, so don't go up there. But my last little bit now, not many people know that Newtown is it's the oldest new town in the world. It's 4,000 years old, so it's the oldest new town in the world, everybody. So like Dylan Thomas says, Newtown is a lovely ugly town. Good night. All right.